My bedroom windows face the east, clear skies and no blinds, it's filling up with heat. The nightmares I can handle, but it's getting hard to breathe. It's getting hard to breathe. Yeah, I still had a good time, although I spent the end of the night in the bathroom, hugging the toilet like my best friend. Like I really missed it. I woke up soaked in sweat and daylight. It's almost 1. The whole morning's gone to waste. I had so many things I wanted to get done to make it worse. Fell asleep in my jacket over hoodie over shirt. So when you walk into my room, see the couch, ask me, is that where you sleep? And I say, yeah, I used to. You say, what do you mean? I say, I stopped. You say, what for? I say, I stopped falling out of my bed when I started sleeping on the floor. I woke up soaked in sweat and daylight. It's almost 1. The whole morning's gone to waste. I had so many things I wanted to get done to make it work.
I hope everyone is doing okay. Nihachu love, Nihachu love.
Fell asleep in my jacket over hoodie over shirt.
Let's go.
I woke up soaked in sweat and daylight. It's almost 1. The whole morning's gone to waste. I had so many things I wanted to get done
Everyone
to
listen
make
free,
it
listen free,
worse.
listen free.
Fell asleep in my jacket over hoodie over shirt.
7 months. Nihachu love, Nihachu love.
Jacket over hoodie over shirt.
Captco 15 heart going strong at 17.
Hello.
Hi,
Chat.
Chat.
He's saying hello as well.
Happy
Hello.
2 years. Hope you had a lovely
Let
day.
me
less
let me
than
see
3.
it. Let me read all of your subs. Let me open it all. iSlasher, thank you for the Prime. Lilith, thank you for the 13 months. Sarah, thank you for the 18 months. M, thank you for the 7 months. Cap, thank you for the 17 months. And Kat as well, thank you for the 24. Blue, thank you for the 11. And Kaya, thank you for the 12 months. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
You make my day better. Thank you. Hope
Thank
everyone is
you.
great. Nihachu love, Nihachu love.
I hope so as well. How are you guys doing? Low mic. Is this better? I feel like now I'm really loud. Am I loud? Ah. You okay, Zuko? Zuko was ill the last
Nihachu
few
love.
days. Well, not the last few days. He was ill for a little. For what? Like, okay. He was ill for a day, for a night, and I worried so much.
Hope you've been well, Nikki. Little health
Do you
update.
guys remember?
Still recovering
if
from
you
the chest
watched
pain,
my-
but luckily I get more time to recover now
Oh,
that I have a
bless
patch
you.
over my eye. Like Sean from Life is Strange too.
If you
Don't
watched
worry, just some minor surgery. I'm a
alt
train wreck
stream,
lol.
I don't know if you remember when he jumped on my lap and then threw up. And I thought it was just a hairball. I was like, it's a hairball, he's fine. He's a very fluffy cat. He throws up hairballs all the time. But then he wouldn't come whenever I would call him. And normally whenever I call him, he's there. Tobias, thank you for the 33 months. Oh my god, thank you. When I call him, he's there. And so I was a little worried. And then he didn't sleep in my bed, and he sleeps in my bed every night. Without a doubt, like he sleeps in my bed every single night. So I was even more worried, but I was like, okay, maybe he's just feeling off. Maybe, I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure he's fine. And I wake up in the morning, and normally Zuko wakes me up because he's hungry, because he wants food, and then I get up and I feed him. He didn't wake me up, and I was like, okay, this is really strange. I don't know what's going on. And I
Really
walk
needed
into
this
the living
smiley face.
room
Thank
and
you.
call him, and he's just not responding. And like I said, he always responds to me. And he just wasn't responding. And I check under the sofa because that's where he hides when he's scared. And I check under it, and he's there, and he's just looking at me like, please help me, I am suffering. Like, the feeling of like you're feeling sick and like you don't want to do anything, you're lethargic. That's what he looked like. He was lethargic. He was not responding to me, and I tried to touch him and he wouldn't let me. And that's like a big sign for me that something's wrong, because he always lets me touch him. Like, he lets me do everything with him. Like, I can touch him, I can pick him up, I can do everything. But whenever I tried to touch him, he would like go away and then stand up and walk away. And every time he stood up, he started heaving. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. What is going on? And I started like, oh my god, I started bawling my eyes out. I started crying. I was like, oh my god, Zuko, what's wrong? Please be fine. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. And also I fed the cats, and Zuko didn't eat. And he always eats. I've had this cat for 2 years now. He has never missed breakfast. Never in his life has this cat missed breakfast or dinner or any sort of food. He loves food. He loves food so much. And I was like, this is bad. If Zuko isn't eating, this is bad. And so I I messaged the girls group chat. Wait, let me see if I have the voice memo, because I was bawling my eyes out. I was crying. But I was busy. Like, I had things to do. That was like the one day where I had to do things.
A message because I just can't type right now. But is anyone around?
I was like, oh my god, I can't do. Like, I was just crying. And like, I was like, please, anyone, I need someone right now. I can't be alone right now. And then Lexi came over, and she was there for me, and I got to do my like the chores I had to do, and I called the emergency vet. And the emergency vet, she was so calm. She was like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I was like, oh, what if it's this? What if it's that? She's like, no, I don't think it is. I think you're fine. And then she was like, you sound really worried. Do you want an appointment today? And I was like, yes, please. When are you free? And then she gave me an appointment, and I got Zuko to the vet, which also, it's always a chore. Getting Zuko into the carrier case is so difficult because he's big. Zuko is 6.5 kilos, which let me see how many pounds that is. 6.5 kg to pounds. He's 14.5, like 14.3 pounds. He's big. He's a big boy. Thank you, Juliet. And then I got him to the vet. After like wrestling with this cat.
Let's go.
And the vet like made sure he's fine. They gave him some medicine and said that it'll work within the next day. He had a high temperature, which was a little worrying, but
Less than three.
he got medicine. He gave me some medicine in case he's not doing better. But then we got home and he started eating again and like being close to me again, as you can see. But that was my and now he's fine. Like he's okay. I think he's like, I don't know what it is. He's a cat who knows what's wrong with them all the time. But that was the first time Zuko was sick, like the first ever time, and that's why I was so worried, because I didn't know how to act. My 2-year-old son just got sick and he wouldn't tell me why, and he wouldn't let me touch him or talk to him. But he's better now. He's doing good. He's just sleepy baby. Yeah, he slept in my bed again. And today when I came back home from my appointment in London, he like instantly came and greeted me and everything, which he does normally. So he's acting again, good again. He's acting fine again. And I'm really glad. That was the biggest scare I have had in such a long time. And I think because of that, because I felt so much anxiety, I'm still so exhausted. That's basically what I was trying to tell you. I am so exhausted. And I think it is because I felt so much anxiety that day. Yeah. And then May is doing good. May is fine. She's jumping around and playing, and Toph is just being Toph. Toph loves to hide. She's one of those cats who love to hide. So yeah, that's the story about how my cat, I thought my cat was dying, and he wasn't. He was fine. How are you guys? How is everyone doing? Today we are doing, sorry, I went off on something there. Today we're doing another mental health stream. Mental Health Mondays with RAD, as you can see. We have a fundraiser going on. Tobias, wait, did you just donate that? Or is that from last time? Oh my god. Thank you so much for the $150. And also Brower, thank you for the $10. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have a fundraiser going on for RAD. They are a charity that focuses on bringing people to therapy and also paying for their therapy. They're worldwide. They're very great. I've worked with them before. And today we are talking to Jenny, who I'm going to get in soon. Oh, okay. So yeah, how did you find the last one? Last time we were talking to Jason. I think Jason's great. I thought that was amazing. Where's my Chatarino? I keep losing my Chatarino. Love the last one. Hey, hello. Hello. Oh, hello, Andy. Thank you so much for the sub. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Good to go. All right. Let me go ahead and undeafen then. I cannot type. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, obviously Jenny's gonna introduce herself and talk about themselves and what they're doing and everything, and you guys are always very welcome to ask any questions that you have. This is a hello.
Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Me too.
All right, did you figure out everything that you had to with Discord?
Yes. Sorry, I was having issues with my password and stuff. I am not like a video gamer myself, so I was a little confused. But yeah.
That's okay. I understand. It can be very confusing.
Would you like me to turn my video on or?
Yeah, that would be if you want to, that would be great.
Perfect.
Let me just set that up on my stream.
Perfect. Let me know if I need to do anything on my end.
You should be fine. I just need to set that all up. 1 second. Normally it should work like this. 1 second.
No problem. I'm just like, this is so new to me, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I understand. Discord can be so confusing. It is to me still to this day as well.
Yeah. It's not the most user-friendly, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. There we go. I'll do this. All right, now it should work. Let me just quickly. Oops. There we go. I need to quickly get the overlay, and then we will be good to go. There we go. Okay. Hi. Nice to meet you. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would love to. And again, thank you so much for having me on the stream today. Such a pleasure to finally meet you. And thank you so much for all that you are doing to raise awareness around mental health, about RAD, all the things. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and giving me your time.
Of course, yeah. And to kind of introduce myself, my name is Jenny Hogan. I'm an associate clinical social worker, associate therapist, and case manager in California. And case manager for Rise Above the Disorder, hence why I am here today. And yeah, just very grateful to work in the mental health field and space, and to work with all the amazing clients that we have the opportunity to work with on a daily
Mental
basis.
health stream are
So,
my favorite
yeah.
streams, honestly.
Nice.
Anyways, hey
So,
Nikki. Hey Jenny.
what do you do? Like, how do you fit into RAD? Do you do therapy for people, or yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I had some other stuff prepared today too. I'd love to tell you more about how I got into the field. I think that's really cool to talk about and kind of hear how everybody finds their way into the mental health field. But specifically at RAD, I am a case manager, so I'm part of the care team. And basically, I am one of the working hands that helps clients kind of bridge that gap between finding a therapist, finding care, and also helping folks who need funding for therapy, through that process, and kind of mentoring them throughout their time on the grant, to make sure that everything's going okay, that their therapist is getting adequately reimbursed, all of those kind of technical and logistical things behind the scenes. It's an absolutely amazing job. This is actually my first job in the mental health care field, and I couldn't be more grateful. Jason fosters such a positive and inviting work environment, as well as Megan, our clinical director. Both of them work hand in hand to make RAD, what it is today. Yeah, such a lovely space to be in. But yeah, happy to answer any questions that you have about that, of course.
That's so great to hear, though. That's so
Yeah.
nice that you like your job as well, and also, yeah, what you're doing, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you have something prepared though to like explain to us how you got into this.
Yeah, for sure. So I
Hard
did
to
kind of
hear.
want to talk about that because I know for everybody there's a different story, life experience, something that just kind of led them into the field or wanting to give back and wanting to help. And so I kind of love sharing that myself and hearing about other stories too. So obviously, before I talk about anything mental health care mental health field wise, I do want to make the disclaimer, that this is not a replacement for therapy or mental health advice. If anybody out there has specific questions, I advise you to contact your doctor or mental health care professional, pertaining to your specific needs, of course. But for me personally, I feel that as I have reached my mid-20s now, that being able to reflect on my life, I feel like at different periods of my life, I have been continuously kind of guided toward becoming a social worker and toward, becoming a therapist since I was pretty young. So actually, when I was an infant, I was actually adopted from a birth mother struggling with substance use, houselessness, human trafficking, and incarceration, which is definitely a very interesting, kind of connection there. I was actually adopted by parents who were lawyers and worked specifically with survivors of crime and incarcerated youth. So it really kind of opened my eyes at a young age of what advocacy and social justice could look like for folks who are out there, and how, a lot of their stories are not ones that, we hear on a daily basis. So, from a young age, I was kind of exposed to these things that helped me to garner an understanding of the world around me and how there are so many areas, that need kind of our help and advocacy. So yeah, that was kind of my first toe dip there, into the field and kind of seeing, the impact that people were having on communities and populations. So.
Wow. Have you, because of that, always wanted to work in the mental health field, or have you tried to or thought about working with people or victims of crime, like your parents, or how? Yeah, because I very much can relate to that. I have seen a lot of tough places in the world with mental health especially, and because of that, I always wanted to become or work in the mental health field myself. So I think that is, I can very much relate to what you just, not completely, but what you just said of, when I was very young, I was exposed to that. And because of that, I would like to work in that field. I think that's amazing. But yeah, how did you find that, or yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, great question. I know it's kind of it's a large question to answer, so I feel you. It's hard to kind of phrase it. Yeah, so that was actually my my goal, kind of throughout my upbringing, and I wanted to be a lawyer. That's, of course, you see what your parents and the people around you are doing, and sometimes it inspires you. So for me, I was like, I think that's what I want to do. Again, it's been very interesting how I've been guided in different directions. So actually,
Nihachu love.
during my, childhood and adolescence, that was kind of my dream. But throughout, those periods of my life, I struggled with issues around identity due to being an adoptee, the anxiety and the depression that kind of comes with adolescence, right? And I also experienced some childhood trauma and medical trauma, which were also very pivotal for me in my own kind of understanding of the world. So this kind of catapulted me into my dream of just wanting to be a professional that could have a significant impact on, the mental health and well-being of people across the lifespan. So at the time, at the end of high school, I actually thought I wanted to be a teacher to really have that effect, on people. So I actually pursued my bachelor's degree in early childhood education, and I actually taught elementary school students in rural Appalachia for 2 years. And if anybody is unsure of what rural Appalachia is, it's a very highly impoverished region of the United States. It's very, rural, like I had said. There's not a lot of resources. There's a lot of the folks there struggle with houselessness, substance use, food insecurity, and poverty. It can be really tough. So actually through that experience and working with the school social worker that we had on staff and working very closely with him,
Hi, Nikki. I
as
came to
well as
stop by to
the
see how are you, and I
families
hope you
and
have a good day or night
students
and love
in
your
and outside
chat.
of the classroom, I realized that while I absolutely adored teaching, I was more so intrigued and focused on what was happening outside of the classroom. How I could provide that support, that safety, that love, for my students and families to make sure that they felt secure enough to even be able to go to school. So that's kind of my story of how I kind of pivoted in a different direction. So from that inspiration in my time in the classroom, I pursued my master's in social work, where I got an emphasis with, mental health and substance abuse specifically. And then when I graduated, I started working at RAD. So that's kind of my my little story and timeline there. But yeah, I am still very intrigued with, survivors of crime and, especially when it comes to, just that area, incarcerated youth and things of that nature. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting areas, I will say, Nikki, with social work and mental health. It's very difficult to kind of choose your niche. And there are ways too that you can, pick and choose different things, right? You can volunteer while having a job, with a different niche. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. That's kind of the beauty with it. But yeah, do you have any
Yeah.
questions about that? I know that was kind of a spill there.
I
So
mean, first of all, that's like amazing. That's like your story. It's so inspiring. I love it. Um,
thank you.
and again, like I can really relate to that because I always wanted to work with children and adolescents in the
Yeah,
mental health like area. Um, and to see that like you know, I really love when I hear about people who can empathize with other people who have been through, you know, either been through things or understand that people go through things, and especially with children. I think that's amazing. And yeah, again, I'm so glad that you're at RAD now and that you can help people. That's amazing. I feel like you are very, I can sense that you're very empathetic and understanding of people's needs, and I love that. Yeah.
thank you. You are so kind. I really appreciate your kind
25
words, and
months.
I
I
totally
am
agree with
so
you. I
glad you are
think,
doing streams like this.
so
It's
many
so
of us
important.
have that
Thank you,
connection,
less than
right?
3.
Of wanting to be, somewhere in the field, wanting to just help in some way or another. And there really are so many opportunities out there. And I think that is the beautiful thing about a field such as social work or even counseling. There's just endless opportunities, and there's so many different areas that are in great need, which, is wonderful at the same time, that we are able to, fill those needs and be able to be there for folks. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I have another question about yourself, and
Of
that
course. Yeah.
is, I mean, obviously, no need to go, like, you only go as deep as you want to, but because you had obviously such a difficult upbringing, have you been through therapy yourself? And how
Yes.
was that? How is that experience for you?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I love, that connection. I have been in therapy at pretty much every period of my life. I think the first time that I attended therapy was maybe in sixth grade. Middle school is a really difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
And I particularly was kind of continuously in therapy due to being an adoptee. There are a lot of underlying themes and kind of heaviness that comes with being an adoptee. There's not a lot of education and awareness that is really discussed, in the media and just through our education when it comes to having a family that looks different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was a really healing kind of space for me to be in when I was growing up. So I saw a few different therapists, through middle school and high school. I went to therapy in college as well. And I always tell people too, like, even now that I'm a therapist, I still go to therapy every week. It's really important, for therapists even to be going to therapy, just to make sure that we have that space and healing for ourselves, so we can show up for our clients as well. So yeah, I always love to be very transparent with people and even my own clients about that, about how anybody can benefit from therapy. Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. So
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. That's great. I was thinking you are actually right about how there's not much awareness about, being an adoptee and being in a different family. My mom actually, she got adopted as well, when she was 3, and
oh my
I feel
yeah.
like, especially, I feel like there's also not much education about the years before you get adopted, because obviously there are reasons, and yeah, I would love to hear more about like stuff like that. I would love to see more awareness of that. That like opened my eyes. I don't know. I feel like I've never really thought about that.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you actually brought that up, because that really segues perfectly into kind of what I also wanted to touch on too with that. And correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm picking up the wrong thing of what you said, but I'm kind of thinking you're kind of touching on like intergenerational trauma, maybe what you take away from that adoption.
Yeah.
Correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, that's a really interesting area as well, when it comes to intergenerational trauma, which all of us, in a way, take on from our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors. There are all these things, that we experience in life and pass on through the womb, right? When we go through pregnancy. I forget what the actual study was. I should have like a detailed reference here, but I don't.
It's all right.
I remember reading that, through my research, that it's even before we are actually, fully developed in the womb, that we actually start to inherit some of that intergenerational trauma and even characteristics. So, those things are, communicated, through our growth within the womb, and we take on those things. That happens too, as you are growing up, right? And as you are a child. So when you are, especially from the ages of like 1 to 5, your brain is quite literally just a sponge. Mm-hmm. So you are pure subconscious brain. You don't really have a conscious brain yet. That's why, when you're little, you don't really remember a lot of what happened, right? Because your brain is still developing. So what is happening when you are growing up, especially during that time of your life, is that you are constantly absorbing everything that is around you. So, if you grew up in a dysfunctional household, maybe experienced some trauma as a child, you're going to more readily absorb those things into your mind, into your body, and that kind of can shape your core beliefs and, how you see the world growing up. So that especially gets interesting when you have an adoptee in the mix, because you're also, not only are you carrying on some of that intergenerational trauma from the birth mother, but you're also taking on the intergenerational trauma of the parents that you are growing up with. So that would be the adoptive family, or maybe a foster family, or whatever that looks like for the adoptee. So, yeah, very interesting.
That is so interesting. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I knew a little about that because I don't know what it is called in English, but in school I learned about like child development, and especially in toddlers and babies and in younger children. And I knew that it was so crucial, like the first few years of your life. But yeah, I feel like I've now learned that way more in detail, and I love that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's one of those things too that when you talk about it or hear somebody talk about it, you kind of just go blank. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to kind of take in for sure. But the science and especially the research that is coming out with development, the brain, neuroplasticity, all the different things that we're kind of finding are really revolutionary and are definitely starting to pivot the way that we see therapy, mental health treatment, and the way that we can kind of help folks, heal in different ways and modalities. So it is a good thing, but it's definitely a lot to take in when we do learn about it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's great though. Is there anything that you could maybe tell someone, maybe someone in my chat who's maybe struggling with their identity, or maybe they're an adoptee as well and they don't really know where they fit in, or have doubts? Like, is there anything you can tell them, or any, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I think obviously identity is so big, right? It can be how you view being an adoptee, how you view being a certain gender, cultural background. I can go on and on. Identity is such a big thing. But I would say, a lot of kind of discovering yourself and looking inward is a lot of that self-compassion, right? And it really is looking deeper into ourselves, kind of asking us our questions of, am I, loving myself the way that I want to love myself? Am I doing the things that I want to do? A lot of this too, I like to connect back with mindfulness. I know that's kind of an overused term right now, but bear with me. Mindfulness is really great with kind of bringing us back, right, to the present moment. And it also helps us to kind of separate from maybe what other people expect us to do, right? There are a lot of societal, I think, expectations with different pieces of identity and even self-compassion that cause us to feel like we can't be ourselves, right? So I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but I think a lot of it is turning inward. Asking yourself, like, who do I want to be and who do I want to identify as if, it had nothing to do with anybody else, but myself, and how can I show myself, that loving care and compassion on a daily basis, even in just little ways, even if in the moment when you're doing them, you feel some of that pushback from your brain. It's all about creating, those patterns of self-compassion. Even if it does feel difficult in the moment, your brain listens. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, for sure. Yeah, you're good.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a big topic for sure.
of course. Yeah. You were talking about mindfulness, and I think mindfulness is such a important like tool to have or to learn. Um, like even if it's not in the moment, and afterwards you reflect on it and you're like, okay, this is how I felt, this is how I acted. I think it's so important. So I like that you brought that up. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, and that's something that I try to tell everybody about, right? Is that it's not only like the meditation and the yoga and all the, more structured practices that like you hear all the time, which are parts of mindfulness, right? But it's also, how you can reflect, right? Because we're not perfect, and it took us X amount of years to get to where we are today. So it takes time, right, to actually kind of be mindful in the moment and kind of catch ourselves, right? And being able to be like, okay, I'm noticing that I'm about to do this, how could I do this differently? It's still just as effective to, in my opinion, to reflect back, How did I respond to XYZ today? How would I like to respond differently tomorrow? How did that make me feel? All of that is mindfulness, and that brings us back to our mind and our body, which is that core pillar of what is going to allow us to heal. So I completely agree with you. It seems so simple, but scientifically, in the way that it's working, to heal your body and your mind, it's so transformative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna see if chat has any questions as well. So
Yeah,
chat,
for
if you
sure.
guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them. Also, if you have anything, you wanna share, you wanna say.
Yeah. I was definitely wanting to kind of connect, back to that mindfulness piece. I love how you kind of branched off of that, because I know that's kind of a hot topic right now. Not only that, but you're seeing a lot of things on the rise, like exercising, right, in good and bad ways, right? There's a
Yeah.
loving balance to that, but more people are getting out and moving their bodies, practicing those kind of activities that allow us to become more connected with our bodies. And so I always love to educate people too on like that mind body connection.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge, and it's a core piece of mindfulness. So when we're talking about that mind body connection, a lot of, especially the clients that we speak to at RAD, who maybe had a more traditional psychotherapy experience, before finding a new therapist, maybe just did solely based cognitive behavioral therapy, which can be effective for some people, and that kind of fills their needs and their wants with therapy. But for a lot of people, they're looking for that more encompassing, holistic approach that allows them to feel more connected to themselves. So that's kind of what we're seeing with some clinicians, is kind of a shift into not just solely cognitive therapy, but also connecting it to somatic therapy. So more like bodily connection and techniques that will allow the client to form a connection with their body and themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. Someone actually asked, what is depersonalization? And I feel like that kind of ties it in because obviously, you know, through mindfulness, you can kind of make the symptoms of it better. So, are you able to explain that a little more?
Yeah, so depersonalization, I don't specifically work with it yet in my practice, so I will kind of be upfront about that I'm not an expert in that area.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I'm still receiving a lot of, or doing a lot of research into. But it's kind of feeling that disconnection, right,
Mm-hmm.
from the mind, the body, kind of feeling like you are in the passenger seat, kind of watching your life like a movie, right? So, especially with something like that, mindfulness techniques can be really helpful with allowing the individual to, create a safe space within themselves. A lot of those depersonalization symptoms are just having symptoms of feeling like you are separate from yourself, can be due to trauma or just distressing kind of situations in your life that have kind of put you into a fight or flight type of response, where your body is pretty much saying, I don't feel safe, so I'm doing this to protect myself. I'm creating this separation, right? So for somebody who is experiencing that, it's, obviously therapy is very helpful, but also too, it's how can we slow down a bit and practice some things that'll help our body find some of that safety. Some of that can be as simple as, if you want to sit with a cozy blanket and give yourself a hug. If you want to do some simple yoga practices, or maybe like a body scan type of like meditation of like, what do I feel in my body? Do I feel like I am in a state of fight or flight. Beginning to notice these things, even at a very fundamental level of, what am I seeing? What am I smelling in this moment? What do I feel? That begins to allow us to bring more of those sensations back to the body, which then tend to help us step out of that place of feeling disconnected. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another another kind of long answer to your short question, but yes.
No, that's great. I mean, yeah. I actually I deal with depersonalization a lot myself. And I can kind of explain it also as just being on autopilot. You know, you don't really think, you're just on autopilot, tunnel vision. Um, and sometimes I will snap out and catch myself and not even remember the last 3 days. Like, what have I done? I don't know. Um, and yeah, grounding myself, mindfulness has definitely helped with that. Um, I started working out a lot, not a lot like unhealthily a lot, but I started working out. I started connecting more to my body, and that very, very much has been helping. Obviously, there's still ups and downs, but yeah, I really like how you explained that as well, because sometimes you just need to ground yourself, listen to your body, and it can happen to everyone, or even if you don't feel like depersonalization, or like you were in the passenger seat, giving your body some attention, it can really help, and is really good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that's amazing that you've been able to find those outlets and to kind of gently push past it a little bit, and that's the difficult piece about doing that self-work, right? Is that our body is like, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe. And when you're trying new things, that's really difficult for the body and the brain to, kind of rationalize. But kind of gently, showing it that compassion and being able to kind of, can't think of the right word, kind of choose a different activity to do in that moment, even when it is difficult, actually plays into that neuroplasticity that we talk about. And what we found through research is that the brain can change itself. And what's cool about that is we can kind of use our understanding of the brain in our favor, in that what we are giving it through things like meditation, yoga, affirmations, speaking kindly to ourselves, the brain doesn't know if that's real or fake. It thinks that is real. It doesn't know what is real or fake. It just takes it as fact. So we can use that in our advantage, right, to practice those things. And with time, those neurons in our brain actually create new connections and will gradually rewire. There's actually a lot of studies. There's specifically a book called The Brain That Changes Itself. I believe it's by Dr. Norman Doidge. And he specifically talks about people who have experienced like a stroke, or something that really gets in the way of somebody's ability to function and to think. And he talks about the different practices that researchers and scientists have been using, not only with people who have experienced a stroke, but people with PTSD, trauma, things of that nature. And over time of practicing those different, things in their life, they're able to rewire certain parts of the brain and completely transform, in the way that they function or feel about themselves. So I think that can be a really empowering piece in anybody's healing journey, to know that, at the end of the day, our body loves us, wants to keep us safe, and that there are different ways that we can kind of befriend our brain, right, and kind of use it in our advantage to transform in a way. So
Yeah, I like that I like how you worded that and that you brought that up, because obviously with trying out new things and doing things and even going outside with anxiety, it can be really hard. But when I try to do that, and when I try to do new things, for example, I go to a new workout class in a new place, I try to trick my brain and tell my brain, oh, this is exciting. This is going to be a new experience. I'm going to learn so many things. And well, in the meantime, I'm like, this is scary. I don't want to do this. But I try to like tell myself like, this is so fun. I'm going to do so many cool things. So yeah, I like that you said that, because sometimes you just have to trick your brain. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that you're doing that. Yeah, it's it's a lot of that kind of dissonance that we feel between the conscious and subconscious brain, that ego and that higher self, and it's also that a lot of us are in that fight, flight, or freeze response. So you also have to think, if our brain, I like to tell my clients specifically, the brain is like a toddler, right? So if you think about a toddler, they're trying to learn all about the world around them. They can be kind of confused sometimes and, make some mistakes on the way while they're learning. So, if you were working with a toddler, would you shame the toddler and, kind of yell at it like we do ourselves, right? We kind of yell at ourselves in our brain. There's a lot of shame, right, that we attach to that. So if we can think of it as a toddler in the way that we would guide the toddler, show it compassion, love, support, we begin to view our brain in that way and begin to speak to it in that way. And like you're saying as well, kind of guiding it, right? Your brain is feeling really overwhelmed and overstimulated being in a workout class, but at the same time, you're like, all right, brain, we're going to do this. It's so exciting. You're guiding that toddler into a new experience that then aids and helps with that neuroplastic change within the brain. So that's kind of a cool hack of looking at it, because I think sometimes it can become overwhelming and we begin to think that we are the thoughts inside our head, but that's not the case, right? It's really that fight or flight response, that kind of dysfunctional thought pattern that we're experiencing, right, due to past traumas or due to distressing events like COVID, that make us feel unsafe. And so it's all about how can we bring back that sense of safety and that self-compassion to allow ourselves, to be present. And with that comes the difficulty of that dissonance, right? Of guiding it in a different direction, even if we're feeling differently in the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. You said two very interesting things. Well, one thing I wanted to say with that, with tricking your brain, therapy can really help there. Like your therapist can guide you through that and can, tell you the things you need to hear sometimes, or you need to tell your brain sometimes. And with that chat, if you're interested in that, therapy can help with that. Another thing you said though was COVID. And I have been thinking about this a lot recently, now that we're kind of going outside again and we're kind of forced to live how we lived before, without really acknowledging the fact that we just went through such a traumatizing part of our life. I feel like we're kind of just brushing through that, and I think a lot of us need therapy, and a lot of us need to talk about it and acknowledge that. And it's not really happening,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that you brought that up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is something that I've also talked a lot with my individual clients at RAD and through private therapy, is that I try to bring awareness to the fact that this is a collective trauma that we have all been through and all have experienced in different ways, shapes, and forms. And we take that with us, right? Of how we view the world, how we feel about what we're doing on a daily basis. So I think specifically for folks who may not have accessibility to therapy at this time, but maybe want to work through some of those feelings of what they experienced during the pandemic or even anything recently, a great way of doing that, without, kind of the presence of therapy is actually journaling. Journaling has a very similar effect to therapy when it comes to processing. So it allows you to kind of put all of your thoughts and feelings and emotions on paper so you can visually see them and kind of break them down, allow you to reflect on those thoughts. And so in a way, that it really helps you process, what you've been through during the pandemic. It's definitely, a huge piece for everybody. So if anybody out there kind of feels like they resonate with that, I'm hearing that from so many different individuals across the globe. So you're definitely not alone there, and it definitely adds on to the things that we were already struggling with.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And with journaling, it doesn't just have to be writing it down. I record my
Yes.
voice a lot when I just have so many thoughts in my head. I went through a really bad breakup a few years ago, and I couldn't even bring myself to write something down because I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't even move. So I would just get my phone and record my voice, and just getting that out. Sometimes you just need to get it out sometimes. And before you do anything self-destructive, or if you're going through a breakup, message that person about all of your thoughts and emotions, and mess things up. Just before that, go into your camera and just record your voice. That it can help so much, and sometimes you just need to get it out. And yeah, I journaling and getting your thoughts out, I think is very, very good, and can help a lot, for sure.
I love that, Nikki. Yes, it's all about finding the avenue that works best for you. If writing is more effective for you, great. If doing more of a vlog or an audio type journal is your cup of tea, that's perfect too. I even have some folks that they don't specifically like writing, but typing is really good for them. So, trying out different things too is really important, because we all are a little bit different in that way, especially when it comes to neurodivergency, the way that, certain people process things is different compared from one person to the next. So I completely agree with you. That's a great point of creating, a way that allows you to do it on a daily basis and stay consistent with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I see a lot of people who probably weren't here last stream, and they're asking again what RAD is and about RAD. I always there always are questions about money and waiting lists and everything. Could you explain that again, just so there's no confusion?
Yeah, for sure. So, Rise Above the Disorder, or also known as RAD, if you're a little bit confused about that, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that is technically based in Los Angeles, but we work with clients across the globe. And basically, what we're doing is, doing our part, right, in making mental health care accessible for all. So the way that we do that is we're very, immersed in the video gaming industry. So that's where we do a lot of our fundraising and raising awareness, as we are doing today. But the way that you can learn more about us and apply to our program, our website is yourrad.org. So that's spelled out like youarerad.org. And basically, how our process works is you fill out an application on our website. And basically, what that does is it's sent to our HIPAA compliant portal where our care team works. We all work virtually. We're across the United States, but again, work with clients across the globe. And basically, it puts you on our waiting list. And when our case managers, like myself, have a spot on our caseload, we go to the waiting list and we pick up the most recent client off the wait list. And we'll reach out to you over email, kind of say, hey, happy to have you. Would love for you to schedule, initial consultation with us so we can get a better understanding of, what you're looking for, what kind of help that you need, and what that looks like for you. So once we meet with you, we have a conversation. It's very casual of, what you're struggling with, how we can help you, what you're looking for in a therapist, if you are in need of a grant, and we go through all of that with you, and we go through kind of that grant process, picking a path for you, and then our case managers kind of do all the difficult work behind the scenes and make it very streamlined and easy for you to access help. And yeah, once we get to that point, that's kind of the way it is. And I like to let people know as well that we are a ongoing resource. So if you use our services once, you can always use them again in the future. If things change, you move, or just want to use those services again. So it really is such a amazing research. Sorry.
No worries. Lots of talking, so much talking.
Yes, it's an amazing resource to have for anybody, and yeah, everybody can use it. So I highly encourage anybody who is, kind of on the fence about it to definitely apply. We're all, really excited to help everybody, and just be a really helpful support, during your healing journey, or if you want to begin your healing journey, whatever that looks like for you. So, yeah, very amazing.
Yeah. And I went through RAD before to find a therapist as well. So, it helps, it works. And it's not, endless waiting list, and you have to wait for months until you find someone. Or, if you're unhappy with your therapist, you can say that, you can voice that, and you have support behind you who will help you with everything, well, with all your needs. And yeah, I think that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about it, right? Is that we conduct that search, and we also have a lot of connections with therapists. So, we're able to kind of streamline that process and really vet those therapists for you, to make sure that you find somebody that you're excited to see each week, that you feel safe with. That's really, really important to us. And so we always have that open door policy, right? Of like, tell me what you think. We totally understand that it can kind of be a trial and error process, and that's okay. And we kind of hold your hand throughout that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for explaining that again.
For sure. Yeah, I know it's kind of confusing, right, to figure out what resources do what. So I completely get it.
Yeah. Someone asked if there's an age minimum for RAD to
That's a
use their
great question.
services.
Yeah, so that's an amazing question as well. So there's technically not like an age requirement, but something that we do try to tell folks who are under the age of 18 is that if they are wanting to go on a grant or even be matched with a therapist, they will need parental consent to be able to work with that therapist. And the reason for that is because in most countries, especially here in the United States, you have to be above the age of 18, an adult, to be able to seek out those services.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, chat, do you have any more questions? Someone said that sounds great. They're not happy with their current therapist, so they might apply. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, definitely welcome. Everybody. Yeah. And I know it's really difficult to want to start the process again. So definitely really proud of you for wanting to try again. I know it's really difficult, but we try our best to find people multiple options, so you can interview them, see if you like them before moving forward. I think that's so important to that therapeutic connection and rapport. So I completely hear you, and I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, someone also asked how long the waiting list usually is for a worker at RAD to get back with them.
Yes, I know that has definitely been a big question recently. So I am not quite sure how long that wait list is right now. That would be information that Jason or Megan could give to you. But I do know that recently it has been a bit extended. We are actually growing our team right now. So we are hoping to decrease those times on the waiting list to be a shortened period of time. That's something that we're actively working on. But yeah, not quite sure what that time limit looks like right now, but it is something that we're looking to improve ASAP.
I mean, if anything, it probably is shorter than,
Yes.
going through the healthcare system, because that can
Correct.
take
It is.
a while.
Yes, and that's a great point as well. I mean, it's going to be significantly shorter too. I mean, there's so many therapists that that I even hear people reaching out to recently who are like, I have a 6-month wait list, which is it will not take that long to get through our wait list. So yeah, it would be significantly more to go elsewhere most of the time. So
Yeah. My cat, I have a little baby kitten, and she's distracting me a little right now.
oh, I love it. She's here for the mental health chit
She
chats.
is, yes. Right.
Are there any other questions that they had? I can't see the chat. So.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see. Can I? Oh, someone asked if you have to go to like physical therapy, or if you also can be connected to online therapy through RAD.
That's a fantastic question. So therapy right now is either telehealth or in person. What we are seeing though, as time has gone on, especially since the pandemic, is that most therapists have turned to telehealth. And the reason for that is not only due to inflation, and rising costs, but also when it comes to accessibility. Most therapists, especially here in the States, they're able to widen their how many clients they're able to offer services to. If they can go through telehealth, they can actually open it up to the full state. So say you are in the state of California, they can work with anybody in California. The same goes for a lot of therapists who are international. We actually know a lot of therapists, especially over in Europe, who work with people anywhere. So that's kind of the beauty of telehealth, is that it really opens your options. It gives you a lot more providers to choose from. But at the same time, we still have folks who are looking for in-person therapists, but I do like to let people know that that is kind of slowly dwindling. There's a lot more telehealth therapists, so yes.
I see. Let's see. Let's see what else. Other questions. Is RAD free? Someone asked.
Yes, it's completely free and accessible, and that's the beauty of RAD and being able to use the resource. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are all the therapists English speaker only? I wouldn't say so, right?
That's a great question. No, we have a lot of clients, obviously, that are international, or even folks here in the United States or Canada who maybe speak another language. And it's fairly easy for us to find somebody who speaks their native language.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to see if there's any.
No, you're fine. Probably takes a while to scroll through.
Oh, I think there's one confusion.
Okay.
And that is RAD doesn't have the therapists themselves. They're not, I don't think the therapists are associated with RAD, right? RAD just connects you to a therapist.
Yes, so
Yeah.
that's a great question. So while I do both, we at RAD do not offer direct therapy, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, because someone asked if RAD records sessions, and they're not connected. And also, I wouldn't think so, because of client,
Yeah, usually
privacy.
Yeah, I mean, it depends obviously on the country and the therapist that you're talking about. Obviously, it can be different, but I know even just for my practice and for most in the United States, I believe you're not supposed to either the therapist or client record the sessions.
Mm-hmm. Someone asked, how did you get your current position in your career? I would love to be a therapist and I'm curious.
Oh, so sweet. So personally, I'm working at RAD while also pursuing my clinical license. So right now I am an associate therapist, so I'm under the supervision of a licensed clinical.
Oh, I think you covered your microphone.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
I don't know what happened. But I don't know how much you heard, but I'm currently working at RAD, but I'm pursuing my clinical licensure on the side.
Mhm.
So I, right now, am an associate therapist in California, so I'm under the supervision of a fully licensed clinical social worker in California. So through that process, you are under supervision for 2 years and either do private practice or work through your agency. Kind of depends on what the person is specifically working towards in their career. So I myself am doing some private therapy work on my own through my supervisor while also working at RAD, which is a lovely mix. And yeah, you're under supervision, at least here in the States. It's different everywhere. And it's different for every state too. But
Mhm.
I am under supervision for 2 years. I have to take a few exams and yeah. So it's definitely an extended process, but I would say for folks here, at least here in the States, who are wanting to maybe become a therapist. I know most of the time with becoming a clinical therapist, you do have to have your master's degree. I'm not sure what that looks like for maybe other professions like counseling or licensed mental health counselor. I don't know what that looks like, but at least for social work, which is amazing. I love social work.
Mhm.
You have to get a master's and then apply for additional licensure when it comes to becoming an independent clinical therapist. So
Mhm.
I hope that answered their question.
I'm sure it did. Um, yeah, I think that is it for questions. Is there anything else you would like to say? You would like to share?
Well, I definitely wanted to say thank you so much, Nikki, for using your platform in such a positive and beautiful way of
Thank
spreading
you.
awareness around mental health. And I just think it's so wonderful. And I definitely want to tell everybody out there who's watching that I am super proud of you for wanting to learn more about healing, your journey in particular. I definitely encourage you to apply for RAD if you're interested, or if you're just interested in therapy in general and wanting to kind of pursue that journey on your own. Super cool. But yeah, I encourage people to look inward, at how they can understand themselves on a deeper level, how they can love themselves, and to kind of break away from, what society kind of places on us. I think that can be so transformative. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for their time and for watching.
Yeah, thank you for your time as well. And again, thank you to Rad for doing this and allowing me to do this. I'm really enjoying these streams and I'm really grateful for, everyone sharing their thoughts and their stories with me. It's so great. Um
Of course,
yeah,
yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for you, Nikki. I know that you're really interested in the career too. So
Yes.
definitely reach out if you want to chat more. And yeah, very exciting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
thank you so
you.
much, everybody.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Nikki. All
Thank
right.
you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Oh my God, May. Sorry, she's jumping around. She's been distracting me for like the past 10 minutes of the stream. Oh, that was so sweet. Oh, that was amazing. What did you think, chat? Jenny was so lovely as well. That was awesome. Did you guys learn some stuff? Hear some interesting things that you will take with you today? I know she was lovely. Rad is cool. Yeah, I love them so much. I'm so thankful for them allowing me to do this. I'm going to quickly also read all the what is it called, the donations today for the stream. Let me just quickly go to my dashboard. You will start journaling if you can get into it. I'm so glad. Yeah. Journaling, again, it helped me so much, and it doesn't even have to be the traditional, like, after a long day you sit down and you write everything down. It doesn't have to be that. If you need to get your thoughts out, get your thoughts out, in any way. Yeah, it definitely helped me so much. So I'm glad that you're gonna try that. That's so sweet. I'm gonna read out all the donations real quick, and then I'm gonna keep talking. So Tobias, thank you so much for the $150. Brower, thank you for the $10. Blip, thank you for the $5. Chupi, thank you for the $5 as well. Clara, thank you for the $9. Carolina, thank you for the $20. Cece, thank you for the $4. Biblo, thank you for the $5. Loda, thank you for the $5. Chunky Mushroom Frog, thank you for the $5. Sage, thank you for the $10. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, chat. I'm obviously gonna, once we have, I think we have 3 more streams of this. Let me quickly check my schedule before I say something wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. We have 5 more streams. Okay, that's a lot more than I thought. But which is good. I'm glad. But obviously, once this is either filled or once the streams are over, I'm going to match this, of course, with my own budget. But thank you so much for everyone who is donating and who is watching and here. I mean, you guys again are the reason I can do this.
Nihachu blankies.
So yeah, thank you. And also thank you for the subs as well. Really appreciate it. I can sadly only see Diamond, Trashbag, and Springwolf, so thank you for the subs, guys. Do I know my personality type? What kind of personality type? I don't know which one you mean. I think I'm an INFJ. I think. I always forget. I'm late, but thank you. Hello. Journaling doesn't have to be daunting. You can talk about things you like video games or books. Yeah, exactly. Just getting things out. I talk to myself all the time. Like, all the time. I had a friend, when I was sick, when I had food poisoning, a friend of mine came over to take care of me. And because of that, I just got so aware of how much I talk to myself. Because normally, like, I've been living on my own. I moved out when I was 17 into my own apartment alone, and then I had roommates for a few years, but now I'm back alone, and I always thought I was just quiet. I always thought I wouldn't say something. Now that my friend was there and I like got to reflect, I talk to myself all the time. I just need to get it out, and I think it's so helpful. So I'm glad that you guys you are going to start journaling, because it's good. It's nice. It's fun, because you can think about things and then you overthink, and then
13 months.
it's just
Love you
in
less
you,
than 3.
you just have all this pent up everything inside of you, and you can think of like, oh, but I thought about it, like, oh, but I mentally already checked out of that, it's in my head, but it's fine. Once you get it out, you don't even have to tell anyone, just get it out. It's at least not pent up in yourself anymore, you know so yeah, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know, thank you so much, guys. I'm so glad that you've been enjoying these streams. Next Monday, let me check. So next Monday we're gonna do another one. There are a few weekdays where wait, is it 1, 2, 3? No, it's 3 more. It's 3 more. It's not 5 more. Sorry, my schedule got messed up. This is my schedule. I mess it up sometimes. It's 3 more streams. We have 3 more streams. Next week we're doing another one. So yeah, be here. It's at the same time, 8 p.m. British time. I'm going to save this VOD as well. I'm going to publish it. So if you guys missed the stream or anything, or you want to go back to anything, it's going to be here on my Twitch channel. Other than that, I think that is it for now. I'm going to go and see who I can raid. Foolish is live, so I'm gonna raid Foolish, obviously. I always raid Foolish. Oh, actually, no, Amesy is live. Should we raid Amesy? Let's raid Amesy. I haven't raided Amesy in a while. I always raid Foolish. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be fine with me once not raiding him. I'll raid Amesy. We'll raid Amesy. But yeah, I think I'm going to be live again tomorrow on this channel as well. And then Wednesday, I'm probably going to be live on my alt. Thursday on my German channel, I think. I'm going to see if I have time. But I think I'm going to be back tomorrow. So if you guys want to see me 2 days in a row, oh my god, crazy. 2 days in a row on Niki Nihachu stream, that's crazy. But yeah, I would appreciate you if you stop by tomorrow. Other than that, I really appreciate you for watching. As always, you are the reason I can do this. You are the reason I can, talk about the things I'm interested in, and mental health is such a huge part of that. So thank you so much for being here and for watching and for being interested in as well. And everything you give me, I'm so grateful. And I hope you all are having a wonderful morning, evening, or day wherever you are. And I will see you tomorrow. Give Amesy my love. Yeah. Bye. Thank you for RAD as well for letting me do this. I really appreciate you.